BC has decided to impersonate him just so people will stop dodging him. It's RecoN versus CoRe. And it is going to be on our side with HRE on England. Yeah. Okay. I feel like every time I watch this matchup, it has very interesting implications. Like, there's something about the dynamics of these two civs on an enclosed map like Altai that gives you really unique scenarios. Like, you think you can just anticipate them all, and you never can. So the interesting thing about these matchups is obviously England is a tempo civ. They're looking to kind of aggress early on. They're looking to kind of dictate the flow of the game. HRE, not so much. Like, there's potential there that I think still hasn't been realized, but HRE is very much seen as this greedy eco boomer. Now, that can work to your advantage or your disadvantage. The detail that usually matters is the map generation. And it has to be said, this is a very defensible generation for CoRe. I don't think I've seen one like this so far. Like, it's essentially natural defenses into a natural funnel point and then full expansion on your left and right side. This is pretty gorgeous for an HRE here, especially against England. Like, if this was against France, for example, France is like, oh, you know, this is kind of annoying, but I can somewhat dive past the TC. I can wrap around the sides because I move fast enough. England don't really have that option. They're slow, muddied, really kind of clunky longbowmen take way too long. And it means that they typically have to, like, go for the shortest route. But that shortest route, in theory, should be very easy for CoRe to hold. We'll see how he does as the game goes on, though. Usually the way I've seen England players kind of deal with HRE is also when they tend to find themselves naturally pinned up against the wall, like, say, more comparative to what RecoN's got. The England player will just walk around building outposts to give them, like, very finite resources and very finite room to actually build anything to counter this with. But in this situation, like, I don't see how RecoN's going to be able to do that. And that might mean that RecoN has to play for a later timing, but he won't arrive at that assessment by default. You don't. Like, you see this matchup, you get on this map, you're England, your opponent is HRE. There is no way you instantly say, I'm going to go Castle Age. No. You straight away are thinking, I need to punish him for going Castle Age. Because you know, like, number one goal, like, you know, you might be up against an HRE player that wants to play Feudal, but overall, you always have to assume the HRE player is going to try to Castle Age boom, because they do it so fast. And that's where they get access to their big boomer, which, of course, is these Relic pickups into the passive gold trickle. The reason they get there so fast, of course, is this glorious lad here, Mr. Baldylocks. Mr., you know, like half the Muslim, half not. These lads right here with the Holy Inspiration, that 40% gathering speed buff lasting 30 seconds, it's such a huge boost to HRE's economy. It's why I've, like, argued that this civ could optimally be used in Feudal as well as later on, just because of how potent your gathering rates are at this stage in the game. It allows you to float a lot more additional economy compared to other people. One interesting thing to highlight here is that CoRe hasn't optimized his economy at all, though. So his wood line is a little bit, like, further away. His food line is being gathered right at the front of his base when it should be being gathered on the corner. The reason it should be gathered on the corner is that the Prelate has less downtime where he's not buffing people directly. So this maybe doesn't matter when you've got, like, less than 10 villages, but once you reach 10, that's the critical mass in which a Prelate can oversee. Like, remember, this buff is a 3-second cooldown at last 30 seconds. You can only buff 10 with one of these lads. So the fact that he's actually set it up like this on this corner, further away, it's not maximizing his benefits here from the Prelate Holy Inspiration. And although the Archon Chapel will somewhat buffer this because it's further away, you can argue he doesn't need to care about this long term. I think overall, like, it would have been beneficial because eventually you could probably want a Prelate on your gold anyway. Right? Like, if you want to try and boost yourself up, like, how else are you going to get there? You're going to farm for food and wood? And that's what I'm kind of curious with now. Because he's gone for this back Archon Chapel, very back Archon Chapel, in fact, he is going to get the benefit of double berry, which is cool, alongside the wood. But it does feel like he's planning to retract his whole economy behind his base, which, in theory, might be something he chooses to do due to where the second gold vein is. But that will leave him somewhat exploitable, because there is a small bit of wiggle room here. Without any sort of tower protection, if RecoN sneaks in with a longbow, he can just about sidestep your TC. And also, like, other side, not so much, but, like, once he gets round here, there we go, CoRe. I mean, of course he understands. This lad is big brain. By the way, for those wondering which CoRe this is, I'm pretty sure this is not Beastie. So that was what we were referencing before. Beastie has snatched CoRe's name because everyone was dodging him. But I'm pretty certain that this is CoRe. But yeah, nice to identify by CoRe there. Like, that was literally as soon as I was talking about it, he does it. This one's less needed against Lombos because they can't easily dive past the TC. But the reason he's doing this is that this TC does fire arrows, but unless you're willing to garrison people, it's not going to kill a lot. And because he's pulling all of his economy to the back of his base, he doesn't have the benefit of a quick garrison that someone would if they, say, had 10 people gathering sheep underneath their primary TC. And then, yeah, there he is, onto the back gold mine that we were kind of theorizing. Also can naturally wall this up. Like, it's very preventative. RecoN's going to struggle to kind of find that in. And you can see now, like, he stopped pulling the longbow forward. There's no point. The scouts saw all of this. So he understands the state of the game. And now RecoN's kind of got to make a choice. Like, do I go super wide and potentially be walled in here anyway? There it is. Or do I now play for a later time myself? Can I play for a later time myself? Should I set up forward outposts near the center of the map to deny him sacred site and relic access? Should I go for like a secondary TC myself? These are all now choices kind of going for RecoN's mind. Although admit that second one, he goes lol, second TC England, because why would we do that? But Castle might just have to be the choice he goes for. Considering he's investing more people in the goal line, that is what I think he's going towards here. It could also be like a ram play. I just think with this small quantity of Lombos, I don't like that sort of investment. I think 4 Lombowmen are not going to be able to protect a ram, and it's going to be a sunken cost. You're just going to lose it very quickly. To be honest, ram rushes are kind of difficult against HRE anyway, right? Like, this is a Civ that has an E-repair. Good old emergency repairs here, which just kind of denies you so much equity early on with ram rushes. Oh, so many people working the gold. So RecoN, he's going to get away with this vision for another 3 to 4 minutes just because CoRe doesn't want to, like, invest in military, right? Like, why would you want to do that just yet? And when he does invest in military, like, it's going to be kind of in line with his timing to go out and gather relics. I do think he's kind of missing a trick here in that getting a stable is fine here to get the horsemen to harass the scouts and get rid of that vision, and then also move out to guard relics. But I think the reason he hasn't done that yet is if he does this right now, what it tells RecoN is that he can go for spearmen. And then you lose timing on your relics, right? You get delayed by another minute or 2. So CoRe is like consciously making this choice to potentially like sacrifice the health of 1 or 2 units, knowing he can repair it with the relics, with the prelates rather, knowing that like he's not going to get sniped by measly 4 damage scouts, because padding himself against being countered when he is ready to come out is worth it. And there you go. Shiv's just turned around. I think this is something people forget. These villages actually do quite a bit of damage. Oh, he traps him! Oh, CoRe. So on point. 6 damage per Shiv. Good enough. Nice play there. And look at this. RecoN, he didn't leave any Lombos here. So CoRe's about to get a freebie. He's already halfway up with the Regnitz Cathedral. Parked it in the corner. A little bit vulnerable if, say, RecoN takes the high ground here and wants to siege it later. That is a potential option. But small detail, like Trebs could kind of reach you more or less anywhere. And I think he really wants to keep this back area optimally for his Archon Chapel, which he can then change it all into farmland. So he's just trying to min-max his eco later on in the game. And he's already ready for one pickup. Second one will be ready as well. And the Wolf won't be able to kill him. Like, even if it got him low, there's the wall. He's going to get past the wall in time. So he's going to get 2 relics off the back of this instantly. And RecoN can't do anything. RecoN himself is teching up now. King's Palace being built. Much slower than CoRe, but you expect this. Overall, given the difference between the 2 civs, it's a respectable timing, but it does mean he's on the back foot. And because he hasn't reinvested in a small army to defend the center, he is essentially just forfeiting these relics. Like, he should have maybe left 1 or 2 Lombowmen here, and he realizes it now. RecoN, if he'd left the Lombos here, he would have sniped out that Prelate. Instead, Prelate gets away on 34 HP. Makes it a little bit close for comfort, but it's still in the safe arms of the HRE economy. These palings. I mean, it's just, it kind of looks pathetic when it's 1 Lombo doing it, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not even sure that, I don't think the Lombo wins this fight. I can't believe I'm saying that. It looks like CoRe's not going to stay around to to find out, but because you're healing passively over time, in theory you can kill the Lombo. But he just backs away because the second one's coming. And although they're guarding that relic right in the center, like, this is now just a bonus for CoRe. If he can get that relic, because he's already got 2. So now this should be where he drops a stable or some military building and then looks to go and grab that after getting rid of the Lombos. I think if he just runs a Prelate out, is he doing what I think he's... Oh my god. If he snakes this, this guy deserves a medal. This would be so scummy, yet so brilliant if he does this. So the scout was trying to peel him back, but it did get assassinated. But right now, RecoN has invested all of his men into guarding the central relic. And he's shown no signs of moving because right now, like RecoN, because he's playing blind AoE, he thinks he's going to get attacked by horsemen or something similar. Like his opponent is going to try and strong arm him in the center. Instead, CoRe is like, sue for peace, okay? Passive, like the peace in our time here, bro. I don't want any war issues. I'm going to continue to boom up, and by the time you realize what is happening, I'm going to be in Imperial Age, and you're just going to be stuck holding your junk in your hand and have nothing you can do with it. CoRe's just like, I've got all these relics, and I don't know what to do with them. RecoN, meanwhile, is just like, well, I've got the villager lead for now. And the key word there is for now. Because RecoN has gone full total. Like, he's walled himself in. He's getting a few knights out. He doesn't have access anymore, though, right? The palisades are going up. It's blocking him out. CoRe is also about ready to go for a tech up. Like, literally in a minute's time, he should be there. Like, look at the income per minute, folks. Like, he's going to be pretty much cracking this at the 13, 40 minute timing. And then his eco booms. And there's no way for RecoN to catch up. Like, even if he starts extracting value, assassinating villagers here or there, anything short of a strong siege in is going to leave RecoN on the back foot. And I mean, I do feel for RecoN. Like, this generation is one of the more generous ones I've seen for HRE. Like, it has to be said, it has to be re-highlighted, that this was beautifully laid out for CoRe to play this greedy. Like, not building a single military unit until Tech 4. Seriously, like, look at it. There's nothing. You can say the scout, that's about it. Like, prelates technically count as military units, but come on. He hasn't built any. And the Palace of Swabi is now being built. And he gets away with this fully. Doesn't even need any outposts, by the way. Just walls. Just little palisades, little baby palisades. Doesn't need to get an outpost down. Doesn't need to, like, stick out a rack, stick out some horsemen. He gets everything he wants, and RecoN just gets stuck foot in the bill. That bill will come due to pay in the coming 5-10 minutes. You will see CoRe very quickly move out of his primary base. Like, one of the weaknesses with the HRE is you do have to gain ground fast. That's why this big tech up timing ahead of RecoN is going to be powerful. What I mean by, like, you have to move out fast is some civs fabricate additional resources, right? They create, an extra 20% on drop-off, like supervising with the Chinese. The HRE don't do that. The HRE extract, if they're being wholly inspired, 40% quicker. Now, this is an infinite benefit for things like farms. But finite resources is not. Wood, gold, these things get drained quicker. It means you move out of your safety barriers faster. And that's why these timers become so optimized for HRE players, and they try to extract value. Because if they can reach Imperial at this stage, they manage to, like, just catch up so quickly. But they need to catch up quickly because they can't stay in this condensed area for too long. Cool. Needs to repair this. I'm surprised he's not getting a second round of repairs in. Like, it's worth it. You've got 75 health on these villagers. You've now got Palace of Swabi. Just throw them away for this. Wait, what? He's turning it into a gate. Oh my god, is he going to try and stab them with the spears? I mean, it's a little bit ballsy when you've got archers firing at you. Your spears are going to suffer a little. But he's getting the upgrades quickly. Like, he's already up to hardened status. And now just a palisade gate to worry about. I think, if I'm not mistaken, by doing this, I do believe, like, CoRe might have decreased the amount of, wall that's going to break when the gate goes down. I think that might have been the purpose behind this. Doesn't feel like it's got any other purpose right now that I'm seeing. In fairness, he gets, like, maybe, like, the repair rate versus build rate. I'm not sure if it's quicker. That might be, like, an interesting thing to look into. Yeah, breach coming soon. Spearmen continue to push out. Needs a lot more houses and a lot more racks because there's going to be a flood in here. 4 knights could do a lot of damage. And remember, CoRe is not at that critical mass yet. He only just caught up to RecoN's eco count. And although you can get a lot of units out quickly with Palace of Swabia, like, there is that fragile state. Whenever you make tech up to tech up back to back like this, your opponent kind of has to understand that, like, you've sacrificed something else. And his assessment is that the military has been sacrificed. Quite rightly so. Let's see what he can do as RecoN will ride in, forcing all the villagers to peel back. Spearmen moving out. And it might just be worth throwing the Spearmen into Lombos. It's a little bit problematic, but, like, there aren't many of them. However, if they're just left to the side picking away at you, they are doing a lot of damage. 13 per shot. But the veterancy on the Spearmen might soon turn to elite status. Yeah, it's already underway on the research. Oh, and the quick walls! He blocks him in. Spearman going to cut 1 or 2 off. One knight is going to fall. Cheeky bugger. CoRe almost getting the big buku bucks there. Not able to catch them all. Is this going to buffer him away? And more knights are arriving for RecoN. Heavy investment. But look what RecoN is slowly doing. He's amassing a lot of food. He's halfway on the gold requirement. He wants Imperial himself, and he might get there. CoRe is finally going to push his opponent out. As the Lombos will be cleaned up, the Knights can no longer hang around, and he has managed to get the room to enclose his base again. But now he needs to move out. Now he needs to take some control in the center. Remember that, you know, although you've already got the maximum 900 gold per minute, there's still more passive gold to be gained here from the relics. And also a staging point, more importantly. You want to breach in. RecoN hasn't built stone walls. He's very limited in the way that he can defend himself right now. Spearman chasing around. Now they are the gold hats. 130 health. RecoN just going to have to fully retreat. And I have to wonder what the plan is. Like, RecoN, like we said, the tech up, you kind of want it, but you understand that with CoRe being up at this point for so long, he's starting to amass an army. And if you go for a tech up, your army isn't actually very big. So RecoN might just fold, right? CoRe might just breach your base and then run you through. Especially with just spears, because remember, you can get marching drills, you can get the 1.38 movement speed on spears, they can chase down your villages, they can chase through your base. That's why he goes to the Siege Workshop first. I appreciate this out of RecoN. I like that he's also getting the Imperial, not knowing what his opponent is doing. This is a safe choice I think you have to take. You've only got a few knights, and there's a lot of spears. So it's not like if you see him having mangonels, you can just run the knights in. They'll die. So instead, you need to make sure you've got preventative means. That's what the Springles are all about. So if he gets 2 or 3 Springles, he can then get a Mago. Once he gets a Mago, I think he can go for the tech up. It's still delicate, but you now, with the Wolves as well, have some sort of defense mechanism against just getting rushed by HRE infantry. And CoRe is going to be methodical about this. Isn't going to throw away his lead. Instead, establish control in the center. This is really good as well, guys. This is huge. So the key, remember, you can pick these relics up and bank them in defenses. Banking them in defenses gives a lot of bonuses. You know, damage, range, lots of ample additions on these keeps. I think the main things is to do with missile resistance and damage and maybe attack speed, if I recall correctly. But all he has to do now, like short distance, run a prelate out, pick this up, put it in the keep. And then another important thing, by the way, is something to consider why you should always be doing this as the HRE, if you can, is if your Regnus Cathedral is already filled, you don't need a monastery. Like, you're not getting additional value there. If you just bank this relic in the keep, not only do you get all those buffers on the defense itself, you will still get 100 gold per minute, which is what you get in a monastery anyway. There, it's quickly built up. No prelate yet. I mean, I think he has a surplus prelate somewhere, or he did. Yeah, he's working the backside for the stone. We'll see if he eventually does it. It's definitely a big booster. It's an underrated play as well in this type of situation. I think it just makes you so much harder to breach, and not enough players do it. Oh, and caught stonewalling. Luckily for RecoN, he does get the initial layer up. On the side, he needs to tap these quickly, though. And oh, we'll get it just in time. CoRe, he was waddling his way across quickly, but still no marching drills. I wonder, that might have made the difference. He would have arrived a lot sooner. And this TC expansion for RecoN will be safe for the moment. But surely CoRe has to realize, like, why is he taking this area? He must be expanding eco here. And it's a popular play. It's a predictable play. Most players, when they play this side of the map, they extend to the southwest side. I've noticed this. Instead of the northern side. And I think it's about the food acquirement, right? Like, there's gold up here, but there's not really food. Whereas you usually get the deer and the berry in this area, and then usually you'll get, like, either a gold or a stone, or both in this situation. So, kind of an interesting observation there. Also important that RecoN controls this area, because you might notice this high ground that CoRe could use for trebs to kill most of your base. So, just small things that can kind of add up. That's why I love when we get generations like this. Like, everything about this generation on Altai looks fun, right? You've got all these weird little splinter paths through the mountains. You've got these staging points above each player's base on the south sides. It makes for a really cool generation, and I prefer it to we have plain stone, like stone mountains going left and right. Like, it definitely gives a lot more character. And now it's just a matter of carving up the map, taking whatever you can. And you see that CoRe, he'll start to stonewall as well. Get room in the back of his base for the additional gold veins. Definitely a lot of value here. I don't think he's ever finding these deer. Okay, this is maybe the one thing I criticize. What the hell is this generation? What? 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 Also, why is Bambi separated from Mummy? Like, poor Bambi. Look at this poor deer. It's like, please, can I come up? If you can jump. No. Too fat. I think I might have been projecting there. CoRe, though. Looking healthy. Good posturing. Tech up complete for RecoN. RecoN can now start to boom a little. England do become pretty potent at the start of Imperial Age. Remember, you get access to the enclosures. You get that generation of gold passively. And on top of that, of course, boosting that gather rate on your farms even more up to the 30% mark. And also, the Berkshire Palace really hard now for CoRe to breach. And CoRe kind of has a hard choice to make. Like, he could wrap south to try and breach on the soft underbelly, but that's going to put him out of position. And that might offer up the center to RecoN. So instead, it's going to be a keep crawl towards his opponent's base. And he prevents the stone walls from going up. And there's a gap! Oh my god, I think CoRe didn't realize at first. But then he got threatened by the longbow, so back away. And a full back wall coming out from RecoN now. But the keep is up, and it has banked the relic. There you go, guys. So you can see it. 50% more armor. 35% more damage. Sight range increased by 25. 20% rather more weapon range, and you still get the gold generation per minute. What more do you want? It's so powerful. And you know what the best part is? He can just keep dragging this forward. If he drops another keep deeper in the base, pick the relic out, put it in the new one. Go deeper and deeper. The range on this is ridiculous, by the way. 9.6 range. It's almost as much as the bombards. Just loads of annoying pings going off for both players right now, but notice that this staging point kind of gives a tasty little bit of a value to certain old CoRe here. Because now that he's stonewalled in the north, what can he do, folks? I think you know. We can see the prelate making the religious shuffle towards it. He's going to dance the dance of his Lord and Savior. Be the savior for CoRe in this one. Give him a clear win condition, controlling all three of the sacred sites. And Trebs are rolling out as well. Trebs that seem like memes in the past, but when you're in this type of situation, like, we've already been seeing how powerful they are in the last 2 weeks, but when you're up against the Berkshire Palace, mwah, magnifico. And no answer for RecoN. Keep in the south as well. And this really, I mean, like, thinking back to the games I've seen out of CoRe, this is more the style of gameplay he likes to play, right? Like, he's a little bit more greedy. He'll try to drag it later if he can. RecoN tried to adjust to this, realizing the map generation wasn't favorable for England in the early game. And this is the outcome of it. But you can really feel the pain for him, right? Like, would this game have been different had CoRe's base been more open? Would CoRe have been the one under siege now? For those are if, buts, and maybes, we don't deal it. We deal in the facts. And right now, RecoN is on the ropes. You can see CoRe's army is smaller, but there you go. The counter to the Trebs. Denied. And this is why Springles are losing value. This, right, it's all trivial. All you have to do is drop the wall. Springles worthless. And all the while, the Trebs are giggling. The Berkshire Palace is on fire. Great Fire in London all over again. And that will crumble to the ground. No staging point anymore for RecoN. Meanwhile, the staging point for CoRe is still solid and safe. And RecoN riding out, ambitiously so, is just going to lose some troops pointlessly here. Feels like more frustration than anything else. Bombards rolling on the front now. CoRe looking to ramp up the pressure. These walls are not going to last long. He was gambling on and hoping the crossbows and longbows would have the edge, the additional attack range, but it just doesn't matter. Bombards and Trebs have more range than them. They can't do anything. Everything is just falling too fast. RecoN trying to replace what he can. Berkshire Palace being repaired. Taking a lot of damage, though. It's so easy to just crumble it again with 4 Trebs on the front. Now, remember, these Trebs, they use up a lot of your pop caps, 6 each. But 4 is good enough to assassinate most things here. And there really is no answer right now for RecoN. RecoN, the best thing he can do is gamble on the south side, decap the sacred site. The problem is he has to send a sizable force due to the keeps. It feels like there's just no entry now. You have to go south, right? You have to send a small contingent right now. I feel like this is just going to tick out at this rate otherwise. Like, it's been, what, sacred site victory condition underway for CoRe for, what, I'd say 2 minutes at least? And he's gaining more ground. Berkshire Palace rubble again. More stone walls being rebuilt by RecoN, but he's never gaining ground. And he has to replace them here. He can't build them any further back. There's no room. Unless you want to integrate buildings into walls, which isn't a thing. And here you go. Oh, God. Creeping walls. This is so disgusting. This is so silly right now. Even in their incomplete status, they protect the trebuchets from Springwall Fire. And so many Springwalls. So much waste from RecoN. 9 Springwalls, no value found. His treb count lower than his opponent's. His opponent easily able to repair this on the front. Never feels like RecoN can repair quick enough. Even more stone walls going up. Council Hall going down, and I'm sensing a pattern here of what CoRe wants to do. That's 2 landmarks down. Now, luckily for RecoN, the last one, if the TC falls as well, is at the back. That's not accessible. But right now, CoRe is full on cruise mode. He's done the damage. He never has to go into the base. The pressure is on RecoN to come out, and he needs to come out soon. Because it has to be said, if you wait until the last 2 to 3 minutes of these Sacred Site victories to push out, you become desperate. And you could end up throwing away the game anyway, just trying to rush onto a Sacred Site and then finding your whole army out of position. An army that is primarily made up of siege right now. In fact, it feels like RecoN have got barely any actual military units. Yeah, it's like 30 range units sitting on the walls. Whoop-de-doo, though. Because they're about to kick rocks, or rocks are about to kick them right off the walls. Oh my God, the damage! Look at the damage the Trebs are doing. Splash damage, folks. Oh my God! That is actually vile. That's with reduced damage as well, remember. Like, right now, CoRe is at the carnival. And he's just playing one of those ball games where you have to knock down the pins, knock down the bottles. And he's knocking them all down. And right now, RecoN feels like he needs a bottle full of alcohol, as a coping mechanism to get through this one. Oh, it's just vile. He's up to 6 traps. This is just disgusting. Please do replicate this in your pub games. The quicker this gets adjusted, the better. Remember when we used to say Trebs are worthless? No, I don't remember that. Definitely wasn't anytime too soon. This unit really is quickly becoming the king of siege. Everyone's bored of the Mangonels. Everyone was bored of the Springwalls. When do we get bored of the Trebs? Because quickly I can see this taking over in the upcoming tournaments. This cruel of stone walls is disgusting and so effective. And TC down. Just 1 landmark left. He rebuilt the Berkshire Palace, but not for long. Don't worry, CoRe's got you covered, buddy. Woo! Oh, don't that just hit right to your core? He's definitely feeling the burn in this workout. And CoRe, it's looking all but just done. I just don't see how RecoN gets out. Maybe with one last hurrah with a group of knights, but that's it. The backup TCs have fallen as well. Everything is just turning into crap for RecoN. And CoRe is floating over 20,000 surplus food because he's never losing units. But finally an opportunity arises. And in he goes. CoRe looking for the King's Palace. He's going to see at the back. And I think RecoN knows this one is over. He hasn't got the troops to repel. The knights aren't going to help him up against the spears and man-at-arms. And instead, RecoN, he's in trouble. CoRe will plow straight for the King's Palace, and he will dethrone the king. Oh, that is a workout on RecoN's hairline if I've ever seen one. How helpless did he feel in this game? How futile did he feel? There was nothing that he could do up against this formation from CoRe. So well played, the way he utilized the generation to his advantage, understanding that English aggression early was not going to be possible to the benefit of RecoN, forcing RecoN in this uncomfortable eco-tech scaling game against HRE. This was never looking good for RecoN, but RecoN, unable to ever gain a foothold that can last in the midfield, guarantees that CoRe turns this into a cruise for him, showing exactly how dominant HRE can be when they're given such a pristine generation. Maybe that's unfair. I don't want to take away from CoRe, by the way. He played really well here. Like, you know, you can talk about, oh, the map generation favored him. You have to use that map generation. And use it he did. Like, this was phenomenally well played by him. Wait. I think that was Beastie, actually. I think that one I cast was Beastie. Because CoRe's games are private. Unless he just privated them. I'm so confused right now. Let me check. I don't think Beastie added me. There's no way. I don't remember Beastie adding me. Yo, that was Beast. So we were watching Beastie. Damn. Should have that would have got more views.